Coach Matt Painter, raise your hand. Once again, we'll get a mic to you. Get around here. Go ahead.
Coach, let's talk about Braden Newman. Went through some tough times last year, getting a lot more playing time this year. He seems to be really doing just so great. Tell me about Braden and how you feel about his play.
Yeah, well, obviously, we've struggled shooting the basketball. I like our skill level. So obviously him knocking down some threes really helped us. I thought he was really active. He had 5 blocks in the game, which from a guard's standpoint is pretty impressive. But no, he's a weapon from an offensive standpoint. There's no question about that. And anytime you can come into the game, he's got to find himself into games. Like he's got to get comfortable and take what comes his way. Sometimes when he starts forcing things, he puts himself in binds. But when he just takes his shots and takes his opportunities, he's been very effective.
Braden Smith had another really good game making decisions in the pick and roll.
Right.
It seemed like you get a little more natural win to score. Is that something you're seeing more?
No, we've been, as we've grown with Braden, he obviously didn't play any this summer with us because he was hurt, but we play post-up basketball with Zach, and then being able to use him and Fletch some, and David in ball screen stuff. But if we could shoot and knock down some shots, like he would have a ton of assists. He's really finding people, and then you'll look on the stat sheet and say, oh, he did good. He had 4 assists. When in reality, he set up about 10 to 12 people, for plays. But he's just got a great knack of knowing where people are and reading the defense, and kind of that hesitation dribble of getting people on their heels and understanding what ball screen you don't see everything, but you see most everything in non-conference. When you get to our league, we probably play a little bit more drop ball screen defense coverage than most, I would think, just because of our size in our league. So he'll see more of that. But he's done a really good job, whether people have switched or hedged or dropped or down games. He's done a really good job of just kind of manipulating the defense and making the right decision.
The way your team is rebounding, doing an okay job taking care of the basketball, probably not defending to your standard, but doing an okay job. Do you feel like this team's a little bit Big Ten readier than maybe some other teams here in the last couple of years?
Probably. I think we've played hard. I think when the ball's gotten loose, you didn't see it as much tonight. We didn't have as many opportunities like to dive and get on the floor. I think that gets contagious of just making those effort plays and being able to get long rebounds or loose balls. But no, they've done a good job. They've done a good job collectively. Obviously today we shared minutes. But they've rebounded the ball. I like our effort. Like even though sometimes we're not getting rebounds, we're keeping them alive. And whether it's a free throw box out, those guys are giving their effort. And what they have to learn to do, especially Caleb, Trey, and Mason, you can't get frustrated because all 3 of those guys deserve to play more. But you're not, you're going to have games where if one guy steps up, and plays really well, like Caleb did in the second half of the Davidson game, like Trey Kaufman did in the last game when he had 24. The other 2 aren't going to play as much. It's just kind of the way it is. But Zach was out of the last game, so they did. But when he's going to be in there, you have to understand that. Well, don't get mad and frustrated about it. Maximize it. Whatever minutes you get, make the most of it. And that's what those guys are doing. So on those offensive rebounds, how it's easier to kind of see when it opens at a free throw box out. But like in the game, those guys are giving great efforts, and sometimes the ball just doesn't come their way. But as long as they just keep their motor going and their effort, it really helps us.
With so many guys sharing minutes, how do you prepare them in practice or before games to be effective and heat up in those short stretches of time? Yeah,
it's the same for everybody. So like even though you got a short stretch to prepare, you've been preparing since June. You've really been preparing your whole life if you're a player. So the guys that don't get familiar, I worry about them because you should be watching other teams in the Big Ten, right? It's your passion, it's everything that you've put into. You've put so much time into now to play Big Ten basketball, to play and try to win a conference championship is what it's about. It's very, very difficult with 14 teams, and it's very difficult starting off. Even though we've played 2 games, you still have a separation. You kind of look at this as kind of the start, really, because that's the way it used to be. But Rutgers has just been fabulous for our league. Like how hard they've played. Coach Pico has been great. Like they're just tough. They defend. They come at you. They can score in different ways. And so like we're going to have our hands full. And our guys know that. Our guys have watched them and understand that. And that's what it's about. That's what we're looking forward to.
Matt, Mason said yesterday after practice he's always been a vocal guy, but now he's learned how to communicate and be heard. How has he kind of owned that team captain role this year?
Yeah, well, he's earned it. You know, we vote for our captains, and so that's what his teammates think of. And I think that's usually the best way. Sometimes if you don't have a disciplined or mature team, they'll vote for their buddies. And we always try to say, don't vote for your best friend. Vote for the people that embody what a leader should be. And he's done a great job with it. And part of leadership is like, you know, when it doesn't go your way, of being happy for other people. And he's done a great job of that. But, you know, him and Brandon have been, you know, here for 4 years. And, you know, you want them to be able to use those experiences that they've had and help everybody else out. But Mace has done a great job leading. It's hard because he spent, what was it, 7 to 10 days, I don't know what the actual time was, and he was away. And now trying to come back, you want to be able to play more to get that feel. So that's frustrating. That's really frustrating. But he's done a great job as a leader. Him and Ethan have done a great job as our captains.
Hey Matt, I've got a Mitch Daniels question for you. President Daniels is retiring in a few days. He's been here for 10 years. What's he done to reflect, kind of back on him, what he's meant to the university, and plus, obviously, the athletics?
Right. Well, he's just a great guy. I mean, he's been great, for our institution. Obviously, with a lot of students like the tuition freeze, they enjoy. Not their parents probably enjoy it more. But no, he's just a fair guy, a straight up guy. Someone that you can sit down and have a normal conversation with. You would never think. He's been the president of Purdue for 10 years, or the governor for 8 years. He came in here with an open mind and really helped our institution grow in so many ways. For us, obviously, for athletics, he was always a huge supporter of us in men's basketball, but all the sports. And it's just great to see like your president actually coming to your games, and Dr. Chiski was the same way. I mean, they come to games and support you, and that's pretty cool.
What have you been able to see from other Big Ten teams, how this race may unfold, and
right.
Any surprises out there that you've been able to glean?
Yeah, well, we were in the same position last year. We're the only school in the country to be undefeated in the last 2 years non-conference, and we didn't win it last year. So that should kind of show that we can go back and watch 3 to 4 games at the end of games, and we don't like to go backwards, but it's frustrating because it was there for us. Not to take anything away from anybody, it was right there. But this is just the start of it. Like all the teams are going to be able to guard. All the teams are going to be physical, but there's just a lot of weapons across the board. And we lost a lot in our league, but then you see other guys improve, new faces that are really good. So every night's going to be a chore. Like every night, there's not one team to me that stands out. I think we got the best record. I think we got the best resume. Doesn't mean we have the best team. It just means we played the best in certain situations. And a lot of people look at that and they argue those things. If everybody played the same opponents on the same day at the same time, which is impossible, you'd have variables that were consistent. You have floating variables across the board. So we do the best we can and we rank teams, and that's where it lies. It doesn't guarantee you're going to go forward and be that team. But it is the best predictor, of the future. It is the only thing that we have is the games that we've played so far. But when you go into a beehive like the RAC, or you go into the Breslin Center or Assembly Hall, like there's no comparison to a neutral game on the West Coast. There just isn't. And so like this is it's not a little kids league, and so we're going to find out real quick. But I'm excited about it. I think we have some great teams in our league. Obviously, we have great coaches and players. It's going to be a fun ride.
Rayfield Davis was calling the game today, and kind of reminds me, Ethan Morton has taken the same path of becoming a scorer in high school, coming here and becoming a defensive specialist. What have you seen in his willingness to take on that role?
He's one of those guys that his first 2 years, like I talk about it a lot up here. I already talked about it today. It's like it's not fair. You know, when you get to be that 8th, 9th, 10th man in a rotation, and sometimes that rotation doesn't go that far, it's not fair. You get used when you're needed, and then not every game that you're needed. And that's really hard for your confidence, because if he was coaching with us, he'd understand it. But when you're playing, you look at it like, what did I do wrong? And that's not the case at all. You just have a good team. You have a talented, deep team. So he's been there, and he's been able to stay positive and keep working and keep getting better. And when you do that, you have a lot of time to watch, and you're intelligent, which he is. You figure out, like, how can I find my way here? Like, how can I get, because if you can get yourself on the court, now the other things will take care of themselves. So he's smart. Like, he understands we got to get Zach involved. You know, he understands you got to give Braden space, you got to give Fletch space, you got to find those guys when they're open, you know, things of that nature. So he's a very, very instinctual, good offensive player. He's not a high-level scorer at this level, but he can still score. He's missed some shots here of late, but he'll knock those down. But he's figured it out, like, if I'm the best defensive player out here, he's going to have me on the court a lot, especially when you get into sticky games. And, you know, he's really mature and understands that. And it's smart. Some players never understand that. They never understand, like, they want everything to conform to them. You know, you conform, especially from scoring, you conform to your top 2 or 3 scores, and then you work around that. Now, everybody's got a guard, right? And everybody's got a rebound. That's the non-negotiables.
Is there anything else? Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.